Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar team to Twitch. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. How y'all doing today? This is the Captain's Table, where we are talking about Star Citizen. It's a podcast where I bring people in from the Star Citizen universe to talk about Star Citizen. And before we get to today's topic, let me introduce your guests. I'm going to start with CC. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And where can they find you?
Cheers. I'm CC. I run the org Apex People's Liberation Front. New branding.
Nice. I like it. Instead of being criminal, you're the political revolutionaries. That's much better.
Yep. So much better.
Where's your beret?
I have it somewhere. I run a YouTube channel under the same name. Production's now like once a quarter, but stuff does occasionally go up there.
Nice. And Attira, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
Hello, I'm Attira Kell. You can find me on YouTube /Attira Kell. That's primarily where I hang out, and I also participate in the podcast with Tree 0311 and Night Cobb called Armchair Admirals and Generals. That's on Tree's channel. Primarily, we focus on military gameplay and how we can improve or make it more realistic or tie it into to what we would perceive as current day experiences of how things should work. And I play all kinds of stuff on my channel. So
okay,
just whatever strikes your fancy.
All right. Well, today, because of the missions update, for those of you who don't know, the Roadmap Roundup added 4 new missions to the progress tracker and 3 new additions to Reputation. Those 4 missions are kind of a heist mission where you go break into Security Point Korea and steal something. Or you break into Security Point Korea and like erase data, like erase gather something and erase like crime stats or something like that. There's another one which is a piracy mission, both legal and illegal. You know, where you stop a ship, disable them, get the cargo from the ship, and return it to another location. There is cargo missions, which is just what it says on the tin. You go pick up cargo at a cargo deck, bring it to your ship, load in your ship, take it off to a low location, and unload it. And lastly, there was the restoration missions, where your job is to restore a ship by using your repair tool to repair the hull and then replacing components and weapons at a new salvage location. So apparently they're updating the salvage yards as well. But that whole addition made me think missions, because missions are one of those things which are such a vital part of Star Citizen, but we often don't hear them talked about a lot, because I think that a lot of people tend to just think of them as an afterthought. So before we get into missions, we're going to talk about missions currently, missions going forward, and in the future, and what their places are. I'm going to start with you, Attira, the question: what are your current thoughts on the missions that we have right now? Goods and bad.
Oh, great. So right now, I think good and bad. I think the bad is most people who are trying to earn currency focus in on a few specific mission types. I think you can run bunkers, you can run bounties. Mm-hmm. And if you're running call to arms, you're running money, you're getting money on the side. And I think a lot of people probably focus in, like we were on today, and we were over Crusader, and we were racing with someone to pull bounty missions. Or not bounty missions, I'm sorry, bunker missions.
Bunker missions.
So that just seems to be where a lot of the emphasis is. It's the best payouts. Now, that said, the good of that is there is a payout. You can earn money, and there's reputation tied to it, and you can climb the ranks and earn lots and lots of money, which is a good thing. But certainly, I think on the bad side, a lot of those non-combat focused missions maybe either take too long to grind because the transit time's involved, and so it really takes a little bit of dedication, or they just don't pay out a great deal over time. So that's kind of where it sits right now, I think, for me.
So it's just imbalanced, too unbalanced, where is it too much focus on combat?
Well, I mean, and of course you could argue that higher risk for loss translates to higher payouts. And that's true, more or less.
Mhm.
But also, you know, I mean, I do think there, you know, it's a game, right? Not real life. So
Yeah.
maybe there needs to be a little bit more balance in that. And especially since the time's involved. So like for some delivery missions, the transit time is longer than it takes to actually go in and get the thing that you're trying to move. And you're just driving constantly. So I, you know, I don't know. They could probably bump that up a little bit so that it's worth the time you spend space trucking around, I think. You know, I don't know. That's my initial thoughts. I'll let CC throw something out there.
CC, agree? What do you think?
On the good side, they do pay really well. All the MMOs you can get a big ship in probably a week or two, which, you know, it's better than the months that it takes to get something done in SWTOR. On the bad side is there's no reason to care about what you're doing. It's
that's true.
It's a Skyrim Radiant quest, so there's no emotional connection. I'm not destroying Crusader for anything more than the little bit of justification I'm trying to write in my own mind, which makes them largely boring when you start looking at what you're doing.
So you're just disconnected with the world when you're doing the missions.
Yeah, it's just completely unplug.
Okay. So let's talk about the coming up missions. The missions, I can go through some of the lists. Let me go through the lists of missions which are on the roadmap, and as well as the missions which are. Let's go with that's coming up in 320. So the release view, we know for sure are coming out in 320, are the retrieve consignment. No, that's actually been pushed back a little bit. We've got, let's see, what else do we have? Salvage cover up. So that's the one where you have you have to kind of scrape a certain amount of hull space to be able to justify, to be able to finish that. And I think that's it, because the other one was removed. Yeah, I think that's it. Trying to look through some of this area real quick, just to double check. And then for the roadmap update, we see steal evidence, where you steal evidence from Korea, from lockup. Cargo hauling, which is cargo hauling, steal and retrieve cargo, and restoration constructs. So thinking about this, 320 and beyond, 320 into the end of this year, what are your thoughts on those missions going forward? Are you happy? Would you like to know more? What's your general thoughts on some of these ideas? Starting with you, CC.
Think about it. I like all of it. I like the fact that there's more to do, that I don't have to generate and I can make money off of it. And Korea sounds like fun when I'm in a PvP mood. I'm gonna die there a lot, but it's a lot of fun. Although I'm still acknowledging that it's not going to be much better in narrative sense than what we already have. It's just going to be another Radiant quest that gets generated, but it is ultimately more activities to do, which is good.
Okay. Attira, same question to you. What are your thoughts on these new missions coming up? Good, bad?
I mean, I think any content is good if it works, right? So popping into another reason to go to SPK is always good. That's every time I go there, I end up getting into some kind of trouble. So, pushing players that way and getting into trouble is good. Giving cargo haulers something to do that is maybe hopefully if they tie rep to this and they're bigger and better missions or more high value missions for the ship they have, and they can actually earn money hauling, boy, that would be great. So, and also it's more realistic, right? Cargo, truck drivers today don't own the cargo. They don't pay for the cargo that they're hauling, right? Somebody puts that in their truck and they just move it, right? They just pay them. So that's good. Still recover. I think that's interesting. I probably would be on the recover side because we do mainly lawful gameplay, but I still think it's pretty great. Restoration.
It's like really basic repair is what it looks like to me.
But it scares me a bit. It's like restore a ship from bow to stern. oh boy, what happened to this ship, and why do I need to show up with my freaking hand tool and like on the like? Oh my gosh, that sounds like very, very tedious. I know that. I mean, I'm into salvage, so I already do hull scraping, and that's
Yeah.
tedious but relaxing. But where do you get the RMC for that? How do you? I mean, is the Vulture like? Does it have like a spew mode where you know? I don't know. I'm a little interested in how they're gonna pull that one off. So, but I'm intrigued on all of them, but it's a little skeptical on restoration.
Let's talk a little bit about reputation because both of you brought this up. We do know that they're going to be adding reputation to the universe beyond new missions, including shop discounts, where if you have good reputations with a certain faction, you get discounts at those shops. Hostility, where if you're friendly or hostile to a faction, then you'll start to have backup, or they'll start to attack you out of nowhere. And of course, sandbox triggers, meaning, say, if you're doing a mission and you just accidentally shoot a Ninetails, or you shoot a Ninetails on the course of that mission, Ninetails will start to dislike you. If you start shooting Crusaders, Crusader will start to dislike you. Or even if you just are just out and about and you do something to one of the members of that group, then you'll start having that negative or positive reputation with those various groups. So what are your thoughts on this addition? Do you think this is going to add to missions, or is this going to subtract? Is it going to move people away from those missions and to do more of the sandbox gameplay? Attira?
I mean, I think it's good. Well, shop discounts is always going to push people to do missions, right? So if you're doing missions for Crusader but again, it comes back to what am I buying, right? And is it unique, or is it just more of the same crap that is always for sale, right? And that we were talking about this today. Reputation needs to have gates for equipment. Like today, I wanted the Crusader Morozov armor set. I had everything but the chest. So we got the mission. We went down there. We just waited while the NPCs fought each other and just kind of laughed at the whole process. And then the guy finally died. We killed everybody else in the bunker, well, bad guys, and then we exited with the armor, right? Why is that not behind like tier 4 reputation for Crusader? And once that's done, I can just go buy that, right? So shop discounts is great unless it applies to ships, and I'm getting like ship discounts so I can buy more ships faster and have, because that's where a lot of our gameplay kind of revolves around, and we earn ships to do things. I don't think that's that big.
Okay.
Reputation hostility, I think, is great. The thing that I like the most about that is friendly fire thresholds, because I sometimes accidentally shoot guards and then they get mad at me. So I like the threshold because it gives me, in my old eyes, a little bit of buffer. Hopefully I don't murder the guy outright. Right, I just shoot him a couple times and then I'm like, oh, that's a good guy. So
yeah, especially if you're also working for them, like shooting this dude in the arm after you've worked for him for a little bit. Maybe they know that you're not trying to murder them. You know, like this just whoops.
Bit of an accident. Yeah.
How about you, CC? Same question about reputation. Do you think this is going to be encourage people to do more missions, or do you think it's going to be taken away from people, start doing things? Because I mean, this does also include the sandbox triggers. So, do you think people will?
Attira took all of my points.
Sorry, man.
Reputation doesn't really mean much, especially if, discounts. I don't care about 15% off a pistol. Or even ship components, because if you've gotten me picking up your medical beacon, you've come back to a ship that has nothing in it. So that's where all of my stuff's coming from. I would like to definitely see kit locked equipment, or reputation locked kit. And that will give me some reason to go grind for someone. But largely nothing burger on my end.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about this. What you because this is something that's come up a lot in some of these discussions. Whenever we talk about missions and stuff like that, it inevitably comes up with stuff that you can get from missions. So if Elliot or any of the crew were to be watching this, what would be some of the suggestions you would have for equipment? Should this equipment just be unique? Should it be overpowered? Like a gun that is +2 damage or whatever, or armor that's better against energy weapons, or should it just be shiny and cool? Like a new armor piece
behind a rep gate.
Yeah, behind a rep gate. If we're doing like equipment or stuff that you get behind a rep gate, should it be something that's practical, like something that's I'm going to improve my ability at doing what I'm doing, or should it be something more cosmetic? Is what I'm asking. And I'll start with you on that, CC.
Oh, I'd slut out for some exclusive Ninetales gear.
So just more cosmetic.
I'm all down for cosmetic stuff. I don't really care about overpowered or unique functions.
Attira, same question.
Yeah, I was just waiting to make sure he wasn't going to keep going. Yeah, I kind of agree, but I agree and disagree. I think there are some things like I think it would variation slots, right, available on some armors. Like maybe Ninetales carries more ammo, but maybe Microsoft help me.
Microtech. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yep. The 900-year evolution of Microsoft. Microtech, maybe they have their light, medium, and heavies have the best cold resistance in the game, right?
Yeah.
But maybe you suffer a bit on ammunition slots, right? And as we go into surface-based missions, which CIG, please, for the love of God, give us more surface combat missions that are not locked within a building. That might make a huge difference, right? Because you can stay out longer, you can keep putting pressure on. So that's, it could be something like that.
Okay.
But, in each one might like maybe Hurston stuff has really good radiation protection because, Hurston.
Yeah. It's garbage.
It's a garbage. Yeah, well, the whole place is irradiated. So,
yeah.
Really, they just drop bombs all over the place. So maybe it's really, really good at protecting you from environmentals like that. Maybe weapons just come with different or better, or instead of having to go loot like a 10 power scope or whatever the best one is out there, maybe you could buy a gun and it comes with it, or that opens up for you to purchase so you don't have to go loot it. Right.
Okay.
That might work.
Chat is also bringing up some other things, like for instance, the idea of possibly rep gating heavy weapons, because right now you can't purchase snipers or light machine guns or like anti-material weapons like the railgun and the rocket launchers. You can't purchase them. You have to find them in loot tables. Would you be against the idea of CIG making those unlockable? Like, say you get good rep with Ninetales, suddenly you can unlocks your ability to purchase their like cache of railguns that you can purchase.
I think absolutely. There's no question.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Ninetales should be, having fun stuff like railguns. Maybe they have more improvised explosives and something as deliberately manufactured that way should be locked for a Crusader. But the idea of locking up more powerful equipment between reps, I'm totally for.
I don't know about that. I think it might just be more expensive. Because you think about it, the Ninetales are a pretty pervasive threat throughout Stanton, right? And they murder a whole bunch of dudes and they steal a whole bunch of stuff. There's no reason they wouldn't have access. For Ninetales, maybe instead of tier 4 getting a railgun, it's tier 5 on the rep, and maybe it's expensive, but you can still buy it, right? Because they have them in inventory. You just have to be, freaking high up in the chain to get it. Whereas maybe it's easier to unlock for a civilized planet.
Crusader is obviously going to be able to go out to whoever makes the railgun and say, I want a production line, 1,000 units a year. They're not going to go sell the Ninetales, so you have to be really high up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Have our fun stuff. Maybe like on the equivalent where you get it, where a Crusader, they give you like a one-shot grenade launcher on a stick.
This is like the World War II, or no, was it World War II or World War One?
The
rifle grenades? You run with the thing on the end of the stick and you slam it into the tank.
Yeah.
That was a Japanese thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yes. I wish to put that in game right now. You pull out just like a giant spear with a shape charge on the end. You have to run at a tank.
Oh gosh, let's switch gears a little bit because I think we're all in agreement that like equipment and stuff like that is important. How about like just cosmetic things? Like I've talked about this in the past. Would you be okay with things like membership cards for guilds, like for like a bounty hunter guild? If you pass a bounty hunter, they send you a little card, and now you got a little card that you can pull up and like look around on and stuff like that. Even if it had no functionality, or if you work with the CDF, you might get like a little badge or a little medal that says I fought with the CDF at blah blah blah. The little trinkets like that to that. Would that be also okay with y'all, or would you prefer more like cosmetic armor and equipment that you'd actually use?
Well, I'm a loot whore.
You're a loot whore? So
Yes.
The answer is yes.
All the things. Go ahead, Cece. Yeah.
I was just thinking of like all the people I've killed because they have the Tavaran war medals that they're found on a bunker.
Yeah.
I will kill you for that. That and your pants. I'm totally down for it.
So no, keep Apex away from lore expeditions. They will steal all of our medals.
We have a guy who will kill for shoes.
Patches for tactical gear, yeah. I've always thought of like the classic spacer jacket from science fiction, that the leather jacket that has like the big like patches with the rockers on them from like various stations and other things like that. So
but from that perspective, it needs to be, again, and I hate to go back to it, but it's got to be rep gated. So like if you're level 4, you get a little badge that you can put on your leather coat that shows that you're level 4 bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And they could give us a as you say, a leather coat, right? Because that's the cool way to do it.
Oh yeah.
And it just has a crap ton of hard points on
attachment points, yeah.
Attachment points, but they're only good for these little patches. You put that on there and you go walk around Invictus and everybody's like, "Oh, look at all the cool patches he ground out."
Yeah.
It'd be great.
It's
I don't have a problem with it.
Boy Scout merit badges, but for Star Citizen for space games.
Just want to know how like my org so with it is we make our own patches that we give out now.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll be definitely for it in game.
I was going to say, because that's the idea that I came up, the reason why I kind of thought about that is because I know so many orgs that have their own patches that they sell, or they have for their groups, or people have their own jackets that they have all these sorts of patches on and like badges and stuff like that. So, and chat saying the Air Force bomber jackets, yes, to a degree, but like, for what I'm talking about is like, that idea has been transferred over into the classic space and science fiction, sort of like
absolutely,
bounty hunters or truckers.
And you'll see them made famous, by the way, by the Army Air Corps.
Yes,
because they came into vogue in World War II when there was no Air Force. Just as a point of order.
All right, well let's move on to a little bit more, because speaking of like reputation, and we talked a little bit about like have it meaning something, having something that has more meaning something. And when I think of that, I think of things like mission givers. I'll start with you on this one, CC. Do you think mission givers still have a place in Star Citizen now that we've kind of gone off to these more modular mission setups? Do you think it's still a good idea to have mission givers?
If they can start making narratives in the game, yes.
Okay.
Having a face to a mission gives you a lot of emotional connection and drive to want to do something for them or against them. So if then they give you a narrative quest, you start actually having a video game that's compelling to play for more than just shooty blow stuff up.
Attira, same question. Would you think we still have a space in Star Citizen for mission givers?
So I'm gonna reach back a bit because it's actually still on my computer, so I'm not reaching that far. You ever played Star Wars Old Republic?
Yeah.
Right. So every character has an arc, and every planet has an arc.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a story told through the planetary arc, and then they weave in your personal story. One of the best MMOs for storytelling that's ever been made. I absolutely think that they need to figure out a way to push those out, to include more of these guys. So like, for instance, like Rudo and Vaughn, they're against each other in the verse, right? You build rep with one, you build negative rep with the other, right? So that's going to feed right into sandbox triggers and reputation hostility, right? So, eventually they need to take the freaking training wheels off in places like, everywhere really. But we'll start with grim hacks, right? So there are going to be elements, and again, we need a few more NPCs floating around that are not derpy as hell, but might be NPCs that are loyal to either Vaughn or Rudo floating around there, and you're just bebopping down, and one of them just starts shooting at you, right? Because you're like -5 rep with one of them, and he hates your guts. And this is a criminal station, and I got a beef, and I'm going to start a gunfight over it. I mean, if you're not building reputation in that way, I think you're missing out on a lot of gameplay. But the other piece of that is like for Miles Eckhart, when you finish that chain, you can't play it again, right?
Yeah. Once you're done, you're done.
So they need to figure out a way for once you spend what is it? It's like 7 missions or something. Once you complete those 7 missions,
Arlington gang. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, either I need a really cool thing at the end of this, right? That says I've completed it, right? Because now it's just I get to blow up an Idris. It's a cool experience, and that's it. It's done, and I can't repeat that experience again this patch. So they need to figure out a way to have those same mission givers continue to provide some type of mission engagement, something, right? And then build rep that maybe freaking Eckert has like his own little patch that you put on your little leather coat, or maybe he's got some slick light armor, right? That is nowhere else, right? That's like his corporate, his little corporation's freaking outfit, whatever. And you unlock that at like if you get to level 5. But right now, you play it, you're done, you stop thinking about it if it works at all. So So short answer, yes. Long answer, need better rewards and more engagement long term.
More engagement long term. Yeah, because I've always been of the opinion that when it comes to like the storytelling, that the mission givers are important for that storytelling, because there's something that I've known for a bit that seems to be hinted at pretty hard, but we haven't seen it in game yet, which is the potential gang war that's about to happen in Stanton. What I'd love to see, for those of you who don't know, Ticia Pacheco is the leader of a syndicate, of the biggest syndicate in the Star Citizen universe, called the Otoni Syndicate. And the way it works is they send out little seeds of members, like they recruit members and they send them out to systems, and then it's up to that person to build up their syndicate so they can get control over the system. And once they have relative control over the system, they're invited back to the syndicate as like a head family member. So like they have a vote in the whole syndicate saying and everything like that. And so Ticia was a member of Blackjack Security, and in an accident or in an engagement, she lost both of her eyes. So her eyes had to be replaced with cybernetics. But as part of that process, she got kicked out because she wasn't as efficient. So she got really angry and left to join the Otoni Syndicate. The other thing is the likelihood that Ticia was blinded and killed or hurt by the Ninetails is pretty high because of where she was working. So you've got Ticia, who's trying to take over the Stanton system as part of her criminal enterprise, and Ninetails, who currently control Stanton's system. So if you look at the reputation, like the Ninetails and Ticia are not friends. They hate each other. And with the rise of the Otoni Syndicate, with things like all of the drug missions where you go in and like steal the drugs or blow up the drugs where she tips them off, all of those are Ninetails oriented. All like the prison mission, that's her mission. Her whole thing is like, you only have to release this one specific person because she doesn't want to release all the other prisoners because they might have Ninetails connections. She only cares about her people. Like there's a lot of narrative that CIG is building of this coming confrontation between these two sides, which is interesting because like Ticia has her own backstory and her own like mission chain. And so does like Rudo, who like works in that group. So personally, I think those are very good ways of telling the story of Star Citizen, telling the narrative, of understanding what are the stakes. Because it makes it more interesting than good guy, bad guy. It's like good guys hate each other sometimes, and bad guys hate each other sometimes, and sometimes you're gonna have to pick a side, even inside your like kind of little stuff. So, yeah. So I'm agreeing with all of you on that one. Now, going forward, we kind of established generally ideas. I'll start with you in this one, Attira. Going forward with missions, say beyond this, what sort of missions would you like to see in terms of like specific ideas or just general concepts that you'd like to see implemented by CIG?
I have a page of notes.
Go for it. This is what it's for.
Okay. CC, I'm sorry if I take any of your ideas.
You're good.
You'll probably nick all of them.
I'm sorry. So, all right. So what I did to prep for this is I went into game and I pulled out every single mission that I could see, right? And then I put together what I know that I can't see, but I know that it's out there either because I've done it or I've seen people do it. And then I tried to create a list, and then I said, well, where are the gaps? So you talk about like the current missions, which are for maintenance. What a horrible set of missions, right? Right, just a horrible set of missions. Well, you know what else is maintenance? Engineering work. So, how about a new set of maintenance quests that require you to purchase a size 1 or a size 2 component, something that we can lift and move and install, and then you have to travel out to or maybe they purchase it and you just have to go pick it up from a Dropbox, right? And then you have to go and install it in their ship and do the repair work or replace relays, right? And that brings the ship online, and then you have 6-7 minutes to get off the ship back to your room before it jumps away, right? Kind of like a precursor to engineering gameplay before they release it into all of our ships. They could do it, it could work, it could not. Just play around with it and see if you can get it working. Of course, non-lethal bounty hunter missions. That's a big thing, right? Dragging people in, actually using the cryopods or the chair in the back of the Hawk. Under the mercenary tab, I loved Salty Mike's comment today. Just bomb anything.
Give me a bombing mission.
I don't care what it is. Let me drop a bomb. So I have an A1, and I do not have an A2. I could not stomach the cost of the A2. It was outrageous. A1 was in my price range for what I think is a fun bit of gameplay. Yeah, we need something, right? It could be something as simple as go to this outpost and bomb the defenses.
Yeah.
Right. Just give us something that earns money. We fly out there, we throw down some bombs and actually make the damn targets susceptible to being bombed, which is a big thing. So yeah, and then so we can go out and bomb things. Certainly, maybe just go bomb one of those derelict outposts.
Yeah, kill everyone inside. Just
kill everyone.
Yeah.
Reconnaissance, right? So there's a lot of overlap with the research satellite mission, right? So you go out and you release the little square satellite thing, and it goes out, and they're like mission complete. Well, you could drop that for recon under mercenary. It could be contested, or you could drop it on the ground near a derelict outpost that will then collect on nine tails in the region. There's, I think we talked about the infiltration. You called it heist. It's the same thing. Infiltration missions, sneak in, try to avoid being caught, right? And then sneak out. And they showed some of that at CitizenCon. What? It's back when the Carrick was releasing.
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, infiltration missions, larger scale ground combat. So by that I don't mean not huge, right? We're not talking about like massive fronts, but it would be nice for there to be something for us to do with all these combat ground vehicles. They're going to need to put weather into place or sufficient anti-air area denial capabilities so that we can't fly in. So then we can get in there and fight some larger ground missions, bunker missions. So the big one on this is evolving bunkers to have nav mesh on the outside. So you got bad guys running around on the outside in addition to turrets, and then you can approach on vehicles smoke them all. Or you could
Mhm.
sit on a ridge line and snipe them all. It doesn't really matter how you approach it, but it offers, more opportunity. On the potential search mission. So the search mission, all they have is the what is it? It's the green stuff, right?
Yeah.
Just add
The time stuff.
yeah. Add the add acryloplex, man.
Mm-hmm.
Add Deluthermax.
Yes.
I know it's quantum sensitive, right? But put it someplace close, right? Like you're just flying it to a nearby outpost, or because those are basically 1C SCU stability crates. Let us move those with our hand tractor.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So you just pick up the whole thing, you put it in there on your cargo grid, and away you go because it's powered thing, right? And maybe as long as it's in contact with the grid, it's powered. Oh man, we're getting there. Medical beacons, right? So service beacons. Have NPCs do it, and you got to go in and you got to use the right drug to cure the NPC. So you start to force medics to not just throw a full cocktail out and it just, heals everything and it shoots your drugs up to 50%, right? Make them use the right drug for the right problem. We know that transports for NPC is coming. That's definitely a thing that they could push on with. NPC, but yep. Gib roads. This is my note. Gib roads for ground vehicle delivery.
Yes.
High weather preventing ships. So that's another one. And then goodness. And then so for pirate gameplay, and this could be pirate or privateer. This is my last line. I'm sorry. Private or privateer, right? So going after pirates could be interdiction specific missions, right? So you got to have a mantis, obviously, and if you don't, you're kind of hosed. But you have a mantis, you go out there, it's a known pirate transit point or cargo transit point for whichever side of the law you're on. You have to interdict in either, right? Kill or capture or whatever, and you get whatever the pirates have. That's the privateer side, right? Privateers get to keep legally all the crap that they take from bad guys, and then the pirates they same thing, right? They have to go back to Grimhex to sell. So I think all of that would be good missions that you could put in that don't require a whole lot of narrative or story driven stuff, but it would give us a lot more content to go out and like fool around with under the missions tab.
Okay.
And I'm done.
CC, what would you like to see going forward in terms of like future missions and how they're structured and such?
Multiple objective missions that kind of chain together. You think about it, you go into a bunker, you stack 20 bodies, you leave. And that's very video gaming. In the real life, we don't tell you to go kill people for the sake of killing people. So what if you had to go in, first push a small fleet off of that local space into the bunker, have to smoke these guys because they're there, but you're trying to pull a person out or some type of equipment, and then you need to transport that back to another base somewhere else. And all that time you're probably having to fight the whole way there, and then delivering it to this person. Have that kind of chain where you get paid like per like objective. So you beat the small fleet, you get your 5,000, 15,000 for clearing out the bunker. And then once you deliver the package, you get the whole payment of like 60.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Having it dabble across career paths, and if you blow it up with scale too, and then you're going to have to start requiring more people to come in to help maybe get people really good at dogfighting to clear the fleet, and then you load it onto someone who just moves stuff. It helps with multiple players coming together for missions and just making them more fun to do.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say more voice acting too. I think more voice acting for stuff like that would be good.
Yeah.
I know that earlier today you guys were talking about how like NPCs don't talk.
I mean, I like, me and Cobb just kind of straight up at the same time believe like that the biggest downside for Star Citizen's immersion is like how quiet cities are, and anyone who's been in any place where humans congregate knows that we are loud. We are not subtle. We like even in places that are supposed to be somewhat quiet, you can still hear footsteps, people mumbling, people talking. You hear people crinkling wrappers. Like you're gonna see and hear things like that. But in like go to Lorville Spaceport and turn off the music and just sit there and listen. It's eerily quiet. Like you shouldn't be able to hear the hum of machinery at Orville Spaceport. It's a spaceport. It's an airport, effectively. You should hear nothing but announcements and people talking all the time.
So I do get that in Crusader, though. Every now and again, I'll hear dialogue.
Yeah.
But that is their newest best planet, so.
I think what they do is in the background they have the dialogue attached to the background noise instead of it coming from the NPC. So you'll hear them talking, but it's actually the background like information. Like they cheat it effectively.
I see.
But
well, now I'm depressed. Okay,
it's a step one into getting that done. But like things like, for instance, like that mission chain that you just talked about, CC, having a mission handler who's like, go here and do this. And like for, a professional military or professional like law enforcement, they're very strict. They speak to you and like, this is the objective. We do this, we're doing this. And if you're screwing up, you be like you're taking too much damage or, that sort of like they hand themselves professionally. Whereas if it's a pirate, they're like, screaming and like various insults at you and calling you various things or because it adds more flavor and someone in Crusader security is probably a lot more professional than a UEE Navy grunt in the middle of like the frontier Vandal space. He might say every other word is a swear word and is got various different colorful, euphemisms, because that makes you feel like, oh, I'm in this system. I'm here with this person. This person feels like an actual like character that I'm dealing with. Because I think a lot of that it's just voice acting can add a lot, which is why those mission givers, I think, very cool, are very important. But I do like the multi-mission stuff, and I do like all of the suggestions you made.
That's a good idea, the multi-mission stuff. I like that.
I've also liked to see like some inventive ways of things. Like for instance, search and rescue is a great would be a great mission set where you have like say there was an SOS signal that was last discovered here. We don't know where they are, and then you have to find out like based off of their last known location. You have to scan and find out where they are. Arrive at the point, prioritize triage, who's hurt, who's not, get them to the right help. Then, do things like repair, add repair missions. Like, oh yeah, this dude has got a tier 3 injury, so you need to get him, up and running and maybe get him to a hospital. But the ship itself just needs a repair. You need to swap out some fuses for this thing and you're off. So like the same idea of like multi-mission, but just different parts of gameplay for the same thing, like scanning, medical, and repair or like engineering. So yeah. Anything else? Let's go crazy. And I'll start with you on the CC. What is your craziest idea for missions? You can be as specific or as general as possible. Give me something off the wall, because I've got an idea, but I want to hear y'all's off the wall idea for missions.
I want to nick the retribution, and if I can get paid for it,
just destroy the biggest ship in the fleet. Yes.
Oh no, it's gonna be mine.
Oh, steal it. Steal it. I thought you said nuke. Nick. Okay, I get it. Steal it.
I will nuke New York, but that ship is mine.
Oh boy.
Kel, same question. Craziest idea for a mission.
You've that is not an answer I was prepared for. Since Steel Retribution is so good, it just removed my freaking chain of thought. That was really good.
I give you mine if it helps gives you some time.
Yeah, give me yours.
Giant kaiju battle. A giant kaiju emerges from some ocean planet, and you have to take it out before it destroys a city. Godzilla, but on the alien world. Just go crazy.
We're doing Pacific Rim now.
Yes, Pacific Rim Star Citizen style. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I still don't have anything great for crazy. I know, not at that level. I don't know. My creativity bubble has popped. I'm good, but no, that both of those would be amazing.
The other idea I had was this is almost an event style thing, which is like a siege of Lorville sort of thing, where the Nine Tails or some group is locked down Lorville, and your job is to run supplies through the blockade into Lorville, but not like space, but like on ground. Go to a rendezvous location, get a bunch of medical supplies, and release supplies onto transports. And your job is to escort that transport through the lines to get it to Lorville. So you have to fight like Nova tanks and anti-aircraft guns, or like missiles. And
It'd have to let
troops.
you in the city.
Yeah,
because that actually was running through the back of my mind. Is what about taking back a city?
Yeah.
As like a crazy idea. Is like you and this would be a standing event type of thing, but like retaking one of the major cities. But I mean, the only one that really lets us go remotely where we want, and that's not saying a lot, is Crusader. Because there's a lot of open terrain there. But the other cities are so closed off. It would be like being on rails. So they'd have to figure out a way to really let you drive into Gib Roads.
Yeah, Gib Roads.
Right? You'd have to be able to drive into the city and retake it. I think that would be a great crazy thing to do. That's within the scale of what they could do. But it would be, you'd have to fight on the ground, and you'd have to be following a road network that leads you to where your objective is.
I like that idea, actually. Retaking.
They coupled it with the counter side for players.
Oh,
so you're trying to retake Lorville, and we're in there trying to do another objective.
And a kaiju comes up and just
middle of the mission's like, oh, you need to steal the retribution to blow up kaiju.
Stealing the retribution to blow up the kaiju while two sides are battling it out for Lorville. Perfect.
Yep.
That's actually fantastic, right? Because you could do that, right? Where maybe the pirates, like if you're Nine Tail aligned, you're trying to prevent. But if you're Vaughn or whatever her name is, the lady that hates Tessia, you might be actively taking, or in any other criminal element, you might be trying to take advantage of the chaos to steal something or do something else. And so players are running in there doing a totally separate sidebar while legal players are trying to run drugs and kill Nine Tails.
Yeah.
So there would be some interesting interchange there between players.
I'd like that too. I like the idea of having multiple approaches. Where like, Xeno threat is coming in to attack Stanton, but now it's a great time for TC Pacheco to steal some drugs out from under people's noses, because no one's paying attention. Everyone's paying attention to this distant battle. That means all the forces are pulled away from other locations. So, yeah. All right, y'all, that's going to be the discussion section. So if you did enjoy this, make sure you're hitting that like button, you're subscribing for more content, and hitting that notification bell. And of course, make sure you're checking out Attira Kell on Armchair Admirals and Generals, as well as Attira Kell on YouTube. And check out CC at, what is it? It's Apex Liberation Front now?
Apex People's Liberation Front.
Apex People Liberation
like
Front.
Chinese Communist propaganda.
Yes! The People's Space Force. The People's Army's Space Force.
Both on YouTube. And of course, you can catch us live on Saturdays at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub and youtube.com/TheAstroPub. For those of you who are still watching this live, stick around. We'll be doing the question and answer session after this. But for everybody else, thank you for hanging out. And if you want to watch the full thing, I'll have the link right above Attira's head. You can click that link and you'll be able to go watch the full thing with all the questions and answers as well. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.